been brainstorming all week here on the number 2 rat rod, and I've got some ideas. I'm ready for rear suspension. I'm not going to go too crazy. I'm going to try to keep this one more scale. If you remember my first rat rod back there, at the bottom of the lift, it is not trying to hide its RC. It's blatantly RC components with wild cantilever shock setups. This one, I'm going more traditional. I want it to look more scale, not be quite as obvious in RC. You've been following along. We've already got the big giant scale diesel engine. We've got our inverted leaf spring front suspension. And now for the rear, I was originally planning on doing some type of cantilever shock setup and hiding the shocks down here. That has since changed. Got these scale airbags. They don't actually hold air. They have a spring inside, but they look the part. These are from Lesu. You can find them on eBay and a few other places. I'm wanting to put the airbags back here for the suspension, and we'll worry about shocks later. I don't have any shocks on the front. Honestly, I'm not really sure I need shocks. This is, with the rubber being kind of heavy, it's a pretty controlled spring. It's not real bouncy. But I've done some eyeballing, and everything looks like the ride height would be perfectly even. If I mount those up, I'll have about a 1/4 inch of ground clearance. So it's going to be a low riding vehicle, so I like it. But the challenge is going to be, where do I put them? Now, the top, they have holes to mount on a cross member or something on the chassis, so that I don't worry. I'm not worried about that. I can make that pretty easily. I've already got holes here to mount. I already have a cross member in there. I will have to change it to a different. I'll probably have to make one. But the axle side is going to be the challenge. Now this is the scale airbags type setup off of an 18-wheeler, and I see these all day at work. Typically, they mount to the outside of the frame rail up top, and then there's a bar made onto the axle that runs behind the rear end that this sets on and bolts to. And it's already got the hole on it. So I've got to try to come up with some way to mount a bar off of the RC 4-wheel drive Yoda 2 axle across the back side of the axle. And it needs to look cool. It needs to not be bulky or out of scale. And it needs to be flat so that these bags can bolt directly to it. This is where I'm thinking. I want them pretty close together, about here, so you can still see the rear cover. The only places to mount are going to be the leaf perch here and here on the axle, and they're only flat on the top side, so I'm limited on how thick of something I can put, because the more I put between on the top of the axle, the less clearance I have from the frame to the axle. It's already right there sitting on the bolt, so if I throw another 3mm in there, that's going to put the chassis up to where my ride height needs to be almost. So I'll end up having pointless suspension. So it's got to be something flat that I can mount in there. And I can't mount to the bottom. I mean, the holes are there, but it's round on the bottom of the axle. It's not flat. It's only flat on the top side. So this is going to be a challenge. I haven't thought beyond this point yet, so I'm going to start digging around and looking at what metals I have and what I can maybe make this out of. Alright guys, so one step down, I've made a bar to run across the bottom to hold the airbags. This was a piece of one of these. You can see that, sorry. I think it's for my bench grinder. It's a nice stainless steel, looks like, or galvanized finish, and it's very strong, very thick. I've kind of Scotch-Brighted it down. I've cut a notch in it to clear my axle housing, and now I just got to figure out how to attach it. I'm going to put the bags like that. Yeah, still working on the other part. So, alright guys, this is what I've got so far. I've made some drop brackets out of some of my 1/2-inch square tube. Oh, where's my other piece? So I started with this, just a piece of stock, and I've cut these little brackets here. They are still kind of hot from the bandsaw, So they're going to sit on top of this, and I've already drilled a hole for the rear truss mount, 4-link mount on the Yoda axle, and then I'm going to bolt them to this. I could braze them. I don't know. I'm almost out of oxygen on my torch, and I think this it really you bolt as much as you can. That's kind of the way I do, unless I absolutely have to. I mean, you can't bolt the chassis together, so I had to obviously braze that, but I'm trying to conserve supplies here for a little bit. So I've got to get these mounted up here. They're going to sit on the axle like so. They fit around the 4-link block and kind of lock in. And then I've got to mark and drill holes through both pieces, bolt to my airbag mount, and then I've got to bolt my airbags through, drill holes for that. And once that's all done and squared away, we can move on to the frame cross member on the upper bag mount, and hopefully that goes pretty smoothly. So I'm going to start mocking all this up. I'm going to leave everything bare metal that's bare metal. I'm going to leave all these jagged edges. I've been hitting these with a file, but they're all discolored from the torch, or from the bandsaw getting hot. And yeah, I'm just going to let all the bare metal stuff ride. We'll see what it looks like in a year or so. Alright guys, here's where I'm at. I've got the brackets evened out, holes drilled. I've got to, still got to figure out if I'm going to braze or bolt. Drilling all these little holes in this is going to be a challenge. Brazing might be a better option, but the problem with brazing is I can't do it while it's on the axle because I'll mess up the axle. So I got to figure out how I'm going to do this. If you can tell what's going on here at all, I went ahead and smoothed down the brackets, just got some of the goo off of them. And these bags, where's my other one? Are going to sit on that arm right there on either side of the axle, and then we're going to attach them to a plate or a cross member at the back of the chassis. It's all getting a little bit bigger than I wanted it to be. It's quite an undertaking here trying to fab up all this stuff. I spent a lot of time on the drop brackets there, cutting out of that steel, and sorry I couldn't film it. It's just I didn't have a plan going into this. I didn't, I'm not one to do something once just to find out how and then film it and make it pretty. I'm just showing you how it is in the raw nature of creation. So yeah, I didn't get to film all the cutting and sanding and cutting and sanding and cutting and sanding back and forth with the bandsaw. Figured it'd get a little boring, so here's where I'm at. I've got my crossbar mounted. It's nice and solid, actually, very solid. I still need to change out the bolts on top. They are still the countersunk. And my holes aren't countersunk, so I'm probably going to run a scale bolt with a nut around it because I can't, I'm out of spacers and washers and everything I need to make it look right, so figure out that here in a minute. I have the rear cross member out so my frame rails are still flexible. So I've marked my holes where my bags will bolt, and yeah. Just got to drill the holes and mount them from the bottom, and then we can move on to the second half, trying to figure out how we're going to mount them to the chassis. But you can kind of see the look I'm going for here, and I am just going to leave everything bare metal. I should have hit this piece with the grinder, like I did all these. They're nice and rough and jagged where all the cuts and stuff were, but I hit that one with some Scotch-Brite, so it kind of gave it a stainless look. I don't know how I feel about it. It does sit a little higher than I was hoping. You can see half of the skull there on that scale diff cover, but it's whatever. It's a rat rod. I'm not out to make it pretty, not to be a show car. It is to be what it is to be, so it's just about building junk from junk, making it run. Alright guys, so I think I just had a miracle happen. This is a crossmember for the fuel tank on a Trailfinder 2. And my big hand out of the way. Those holes could not line up any more perfectly if I had measured it. I would have never got it that right. I don't know how that happened. They are a different size. I'm not sure yet how I'm going to make that work. Those airbags do come with some hardware. I'm going to see how long they are because they'll have to reach through this round tube now. And I will have to space it a little bit because it is a little narrower than I need my frame rails in the back. Maybe 5 or 8 millimeter. But yeah, those holes, that's perfect. So I'm gonna play around with shims and screws and try to get this thing mounted up. Alright guys, I'm done. This thing is looking pretty cool. This is the ride height. It does have just enough movement. It yeah. And I do have a little bit of flex in the front. Just a little. The motor hits the ground. So it's going to be pretty low. It won't be an off-road ride at all. But yeah. That's pretty much the ride height right there. So that's why I didn't really go with the adjustable suspension, because there's just not really a point to me. This, plus being a truck, the truck bed, you're going to be able to see a bunch of stuff, and my first attempt at doing adjustable suspension, I don't want it all exposed. I want to be able to hide it. So maybe a coupe body or something else for the next try, but for now I'm happy with this. See a little better. I didn't have any scale bolts long enough to fit my mounts up there. I had to use some old beadlock hardware, but I've got lock nuts on the back side. It's pretty ratty. It's kind of janky looking, but it works. You can pull it up. It's got a fair amount of movement. I think it fits. Hopefully it will start rusting a little bit. Came out really good. I'm surprised the way I had to try to engineer it, try to make it work. It's a miracle that stuff lined up as well as it did. I'm pretty excited about how all that turned out. So yeah, not sure what's next for this build. I think I gotta find a motor and I gotta do some electronics. I need to paint the cab, but it's gotten cold again here and raining, so I can't paint the cab this weekend. I was hoping to just get some primer on it so it looks a little more scale. I know the chassis, I think, is going to be more impressive once the body's not so blatantly plastic. But yeah, I gotta find a motor, an ESC. I did, when I put the grill on, I did accidentally nick my servo wire, so I'm not sure yet. I'm probably gonna have to replace the servo since it nicked it right up at the base of the servo, not anywhere along the wire. So I'm not sure if that's gonna work. I may have to replace it. Just one of those oops moments. I was getting lazy, tired of taking stuff apart and putting it back together and back and forth and back and forth. So I was trying to do a last minute trim, and I nicked the wire. But not sure that servo is going to be the best anyway. It's kind of it's a high speed servo. It's not really what I need. I just threw it in there because I had it spare and it fit. But yeah, I'm digging this thing. It looks mean from the back. Let me show you a lower angle. The thing just looks wicked. I wanted it to sit a little lower so I could see the full diff cover, but that's how it happens, so that's where it's going to stay. It looks janky, but it's a rat rod. Things are supposed to be sketchy. Like I said, it's solid. I can pick it up. It's got just enough movement. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to use any shocks or not. I don't know yet. We'll have to get it running and see how it performs. If it's dragging the corners of the body off and stuff like that, might throw some shocks on there just for additional support. I hate to use plastic shocks since everything on this is as much metal as I can find. But those RC 4-wheel drive scale shocks, I mean, they only have another spring. There's no point in putting a spring since there's already a spring inside of these. So it needs some oil-filled shocks for a cushion. So I might have to look at some other options, maybe some Pro Lines or things like that. I don't know. I've got some of those RC 4-wheel drive disruptor shocks, but we'll see. I just don't know about shocks yet. I don't know. I'm thinking too far ahead. I just got to take it one step at a time. So I'm going to quit rambling on and see what we can do next. But we'll wrap this video up here. I appreciate everybody watching. And please like, subscribe, and share. Feel free to comment below. And yep, follow along on Instagram. It's RC Everyday. And I will see y'all in the next video. Thank you.